welcome to another episode of Reese's Random Reviews. I am Reese. I'm about to give you a random review, more like a random countdown actually, but also reviewing each and every one of these. This is my top 10 film directors, so I'm going to be reviewing and talking about why these are my top 10 favourite film directors. As you can see, I've got my hashtag film director shirt on and I'm wearing a police hat. Don't ask me why, I just like to wear funny things when I'm talking to you guys because I'm just particularly random like that. But anyway, I don't want to make this video too long or too short, but basically all I'm trying to say is these are my top 10 film directors, what films I've mostly enjoyed from them, and I'm just going to get cracking on because this is definitely going to be quite a long video and I don't want to make it too long. So let's get on with number 10 of my top 10 film directors. These guys are like the king of comedy. Phil Lord and Christopher Miller have directed Lego Movie, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs and 21 and 22 Jump Street. These guys have so much fun when it comes to making their films. It's just comedy, comedy, comedy with them. The humour is hilarious, the dialogue is fantastic. Each film they do is just such a feel-good comedy. I love 21 Jump Street. I just thought that was so funny when I first ever watched that. I also love its sequel. But not as much as the first film. I thought the second film was a bit lazy. I think out of all the films they've done, 22 Jump Street was the laziest because it was too much like watching the first film. However, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs was the first film I saw. Well, actually I think it's everyone's first film that they saw because that was the first film they actually directed. But yeah, I love Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs because I think that's such a hilarious animated film. But also, I love the Lego Movie. That Lego Movie is just such a clever, such an amazing, such an epic film. You know, that's what I love about Phil Lord and Christopher Miller. Each film they've done as well has been critically acclaimed and they deserve it. And that's why they also deserve to be number 10 in my top 10 film directors. Each film they've done, I've loved. Okay, let's move on to number 9. Christopher Nolan. This guy makes films like proper mind-fucked. These are definitely mind-fucked films, but you know what? I have loved many films he's done. The Batman trilogy, Memento, Insomnia. That's my favourite film he's done, Insomnia, where Robin Williams is the villain and Al Pacino's the cop trying to go after him. Also, Inception was just mental. I mean, that film just gets you so fixated on that. You're just like, what the fuck? And then you're just like, that's amazing. But that is also one of my favourite Christopher Nolan films. You know, each film he does is just so... You know, you just try and work your brain around them, but each film he's done, they're just absolutely psychologically amazing. They really get you thinking, they make your brain active, they get you just so fixated. Most people watch Christopher Nolan films and go, I didn't get that movie, but because I'm a massive Christopher Nolan fan and I've seen so many of his films, I just literally look at that and go, that's amazing, I know what he was aiming for. Sometimes I do look at films and I think, oh, I don't know if that's what I was aiming for, but at the same time, I look at that and I just go, yeah, that was brilliant. So there you go. I mean, Christopher Nolan, he's such a legend. He's done some amazing films. The cinematography in his films as well are absolutely amazing. I just look at it and I just think it's absolutely amazing. The footage in his films are so amazingly dark and wonderful. I just fall in love with his films instantly. Alright, let's move on to number 8. Steven Spielberg. Of course this guy had to be on the list. I've loved this guy ever since I was a kid. E.T., Jaws, Jurassic Park, you name it. I've watched it, I love it. However, I've not really seen every film he's done because obviously this guy's not just a director, he's an executive producer as well on many films. However, I'm just looking at the films he's directed. E.T. I'm not really a huge fan of anymore. I did used to love it, but now I'm just not really. It's just so overrated and we all know the story about the alien, da 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 da. Yeah, we all know the theme tune. Jurassic Park, I still love, and I even love The Lost World. I know many people didn't like that film, but I love Jurassic Park and I love The Lost World. Those films are absolutely fantastic. Also, I love his more serious films as well, like Catch Me If You Can with Leonardo DiCaprio and Tom Hanks. Love that movie. Saving Private Ryan with Tom Hanks as well is such a good film. Oh my god, and I love War Horse. War Horse is definitely one of my favourite Steven Spielberg films ever done. To be honest, it's also one of my favourite films. It's not my exact favourite, but it's definitely one of my favourites. War Horse is an incredible movie. If you haven't seen it, I definitely recommend that out of many of the Steven Spielberg films. I haven't seen Lincoln yet. I know. You're all going to have a go at me. I haven't seen it yet, but I definitely plan to see it. Hopefully it comes on the TV one day and I will definitely give it a watch. But apart from that, I've seen nearly every other Steven Spielberg film and I've loved most of them. Not every film he's done is incredible. That's why he's definitely down at number 8. But he's definitely made very enjoyable classics, I will say that. So yeah, Steven Spielberg definitely hits number 8. Right, let's move on to number 7. Louis Leterrier, I think that's how you say his name. But anyway, this is the guy that directed Clash of the Titans in 2010, Transporter 1 and 2, the remake of The Incredible Hulk, or reboot, something like that. And he also done an incredible film called Unleashed. This guy, I've seen nearly every film he's done, apart from Now You Can See Me, or Now You See Me, you know, the Magician film with Morgan Freeman and Michael Caine. That's the only film I haven't seen him do yet. However, I have seen every other film this guy has done, and I've enjoyed every one of them. I don't know why the hell people got angry at Clash of the Titans. I love that movie. Clash of the Titans is such a good film. I don't care what people say. I enjoyed the special effects. I enjoyed the story. Yeah, okay, Sam Worthington's not the best actor, but Liam Neeson and Ralph Fiennes play incredible Zeus and Hades. Plus, Gemma Arterton's in the film, and I absolutely fall in love with that woman. She's such an incredible actress. Apart from that, Transporter 1 and 2 with Jason Statham, oh my god, awesome epic films. I loved 1, 2 and 3. Lewis didn't direct the third one, but I definitely have seen all 3 of them, and I absolutely love the Transporter films. Also, the best film that Lewis has actually ever directed was Unleashed. Unleashed is such a good film with Jet Li, Bob Hoskins and Morgan Freeman. If you haven't seen that film, watch it. Please watch Unleashed. Definitely his best one. Alright, let's move on to number 6. This is a completely different director. He's not as massive as Steven Spielberg, but he's kind of like the Steven Spielberg in Britain. Shane Meadows is the director of This Is England and Dead Man's Shoes. I absolutely fell in love with those films the first time I watched it. Dead Man's Shoes was the first one I ever saw with Shane Meadows directed. About the man who tried to get revenge on the gang who apparently killed his autistic brother, and that film is just absolutely epic. Dead Man's Shoes I love, but I mostly love This Is England as well. This Is England is such a powerful film about, it's kind of like a coming of age story in a way, but it also just shows responsibility and, you know, be careful who you should be friends with as well. But This Is England is such an amazing film. I mean, I remember when I first watched that on Film 4, I just watched it for the first time and said, love that movie. And then Dead Man's Shoes is just, you know, I got so addicted to that film. I watched it as soon as I brought the DVD as well. I watched it on Film 4, then got the DVD, and then all of a sudden, bang, I just fell in love with those films. Shane Meadows is such a clever British director. I love his films. You know, he brings such a great vibe to them, and they're just such fantastic stories. He is literally a genius in storytelling. Right, let's move on to number 5. Alfred Hitchcock. Good evening, I'm Alfred Hitchcock. An absolute legend in filmmaking. Rear Window, The Birds, Psycho, Shadow of a Doubt. Love those movies. Even though they're really old, like they were made in the 30s, 40s, 50s and 60s and whatever, they are literally really good films. The Birds, when I first watched that film, it did really intense me. Psycho as well was like, holy shit. I mean, the shower scene, you know, just wow. And also, of course, Rear Window. Such an intense movie despite being made in the 50s. But you know what? I don't care. That film literally put my heart in my throat. That's how much that film was like all over the place. But that's what makes Alfred Hitchcock such a good director. He really gets you on the edge of your seat, even though no matter what generation. Alfred Hitchcock is a legend in filming, and you know what? He was such a fantastic director. I mean, he really was the master of suspense. I mean, such a legend all the way. That's why he makes it to number 5. Each film he's nearly done, I mean, I haven't seen every film, but each film I've seen, I've enjoyed, I've loved. I just have to watch him. I mean, they really grow on you, Alfred Hitchcock films. So that is why he makes it to number 5. Let's move on to number 4. This guy is just so unique all the way. Tim Burton makes it to number 4 in my top 10 film directors. I've been such a huge fan of Tim Burton ever since I was about 4 years old. I remember watching Edward Scissorhands. It scared the shit out of me when I first watched it, but now I fucking love that movie. Also, Alice in Wonderland reboot, love that movie as well. I saw Mars Attacks, wasn't too fond of that film, but it was very funny. Batman 1989, Batman Returns, great films. Beetlejuice, I love Beetlejuice. That film is such a hilarious movie, such a great movie. Love Beetlejuice. If you haven't watched Beetlejuice, you better watch it, because that is definitely a film you must see before you die. Plus there is a sequel on the way, so watch it, watch it, watch it! Yeah, so you gotta watch those movies. Tim Burton is just such a great director. I mean, You know, each film he does, so gothic, so unique, so weird, but you just fall in love with them instantly. Tim Burton, such a great director. Well done, just love that guy. Right, let's move on to number 3. Now you're probably thinking, he does animation, not live action. So what? This man makes technically animated films inspired by live action. This man, Hayao Miyazaki, is literally like the Steven Spielberg, the Christopher Nolan, the Alfred Hitchcock of Japan. This man makes animated films like literally no other animated films before. Most people compare Hayao Miyazaki to Disney films or other Disney movie stuff. No, it isn't. I never compare a Hayao Miyazaki film to a Disney film. Do you know why? Because Hayao Miyazaki makes animated films in much more special ways than that. The backgrounds are so detailed, everything looks realistic, the fantasy is just so mind-blowing, the direction he takes with his films are just so amazing. I mean, I loved Spirited Away. The first time I saw that film, I fell in love with that film instantly. Also Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro. I can't go on. He's made some flipping good movies. You know, every film he's done has been amazing. If you haven't watched many Studio Ghibli films, I recommend you do. They're so amazing. The films are just literally, I mean, they're not really kids movies. They are more proper for families or more for adults. Princess Mononoke, don't show that to your kids. That's the darkest film he's ever done. But apart from that, watch Spirited Away, watch Howl's Moving Castle, My Neighbor Totoro, you should be fine. I will admit though, like I said, not exactly kids films, very more out the box, more controversial, but so brilliant. Hayao Miyazaki deserves to be number 3. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2, David Fincher. This man is mind-blowing when it comes to films. Each film he's done is just so, I get so fixated with them. Panic Room is just amazing. Loved Fight Club, loved Seven, loved Gone Girl. Social Network was a good film. I could go on. This man has made some really great films. Each film he's done is just all steady cam, suspenseful, really edge of your seat. Most of all, just like, you know, just wow. Everyone is so fond of David Fincher, and I can see why. His filmmaking is so unique, so cleverly done. He is literally one of the masters of filmmaking and directing. He just knows how to direct a good film. Mind you, not every film he's done is 100%. Like I said, Social Network, I did like that film, but I wasn't so, oh my god, it's David Fincher made that sort of thing. I was more sort of, yeah, that was a good piece of work, but I wouldn't say it was up there. I'd say it was more sort of, I'd say 7.9 out of 10, if that's more okay. However, Panic Room, Seven, oh, those films, I'm so addicted to those films. Plus, Gone Girl was just like, whoa. I mean, Gone Girl really kept your mind going when you watch that movie. That is definitely one of his best films. If you haven't seen Gone Girl, or Panic Room, or Seven, watch them. David Fincher is a legend. That's why he made it to number 2. Right. Now who's number 1? Let's reveal it. Stanley Kubrick. This man was the man who inspired me to do filmmaking. The Shining was the first film I ever seen him do. Blew me away totally. Loved The Shining. After that, Clockwork Orange, loved it. Full Metal Jacket, loved it. Eyes Wide Shut, loved it. 2001: A Space Odyssey, loved it. Doctor Strangelove, loved it. Spartacus, nah, I'm sorry, I think that was definitely the low one. But apart from that, every other film he's done, marvellous. I mean, Stanley Kubrick was the master. Like, even though David Fincher is the master of filmmaking now, Stanley Kubrick was the master. What I love about Stanley Kubrick, he knew how to make a movie. This was the man that was so determined to come up with each film was a masterpiece, you know what I mean? Each film was mind-blowing. Many of his films have even reached the best films in the world. And do you know what? I can see why. 2001: Space Odyssey, breathtaking. Clockwork Orange was just so entertaining. The Shining, so suspenseful. Full Metal Jacket, hilarious, and just a marvellous film altogether. Full Metal Jacket and Clockwork Orange are definitely the most highly recommended. What's my favourite Stanley Kubrick film? Definitely A Clockwork Orange, all the way. I'm singing in the rain. Yeah, they have that song in the film. You'll see why. But apart from that, yeah, Stanley Kubrick makes it as number one. He's just a genius with his filmmaking. Such a clever man, such an absolute legend, and the most inspiring director to ever hit the film industry. Okay guys, that's my top 10 film directors. I hope you enjoyed it. If you didn't agree with my list, then whatever. But if you did agree with my list, then thank you so much. And from me, it is goodbye.